The Department of Higher Education and Training, in partnership with sector education and training authorities, is hosting a SETA Skills Summit. The summit, which takes place today and tomorrow at the Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, will also be used as a launching pad for the SETA integrated high-impact programs. The Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Blade Nzimande, is expected to deliver the keynote address, and we've got the Minister with us this morning to elaborate a little bit more about what we can expect on this. So, Minister, pleasure having you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Leanne, and thanks for inviting me, and good morning to both your listeners and viewers.
Thank you so much. So our SETAs, let's talk a little bit about them, because there's, obviously the skills landscape that South Africa is desperately wanting to increase. So how are the SETAs adding to this? In your opinion, do you think they're working?
The SETAs are doing a lot of good work here, Leanne. It is unfortunate that the focus tends to be on the weaknesses, which there are, and challenges that we've actually had. But the SETAs are doing very well. Let me also tell you just a few areas of great improvement. SETAs have been supporting our TVET colleges over the last decade or so in an increasing manner. They've been building, some of them, skills centers, which are campuses of TVET colleges deep in the rural areas where there is no post-school institution. They've also adopted programs that are offered by the TVET colleges, and they've worked closely to ensure also that we increase the production of our artisans in South Africa. The SETAs also have been offering work placement opportunities for unemployed youth, as well as for TVET college graduates who require work placement. This has significantly even improved the standing of the TVET colleges in our communities and amongst parents and young people. So this summit is partly also to reflect on that, to say over the past 5 years, how have the SETAs done, and what are the programs that they want to build upon these achievements over the next 5 years, which is what this summit is about. Also, the summit is about maximizing cooperation amongst the SETAs, because there are a number of areas, Leanne, where SETAs actually coordinate. For instance, in addressing the needs of what we call the needs, youth that is neither in employment, education, or training. Artisan production is another area where a lot of SETAs are involved. Also, to better align and coordinate internships and learnerships. Our research, by the way, tells us that 70% of young people who have had an internship or a work placement for experience over 12 months, 70% of them get out, they end up being employed.
Yeah.
And also, the key issue that is important for the summit is how do we expand relationship with employers, because we really can't have proper training without workplace exposure, just like we can't have vocational education without students at TVET colleges getting this workplace experience.
Yeah.
But today, then in particular, the SETAs have said, out of our experiences of all this work that we've actually done, here are the 6 high-impact areas. Very quickly, is infrastructure. We do have challenges, by the way, Leanne. You go deep in the rural areas, there are young people who want to fund skills programs, but there is no physical infrastructure. You can't train an artisan under a tree. So I have actually been asking the SETAs, and they've responded quite positively to actually providing infrastructure. So this is one high-impact program. The other one is that we are definitely wanting to reduce the high levels of unemployment, even amongst graduates. That is another high-impact area they want to focus on.
Yeah.
We also want to focus on other opportunities other than employment, like entrepreneurship programs, development of small, medium enterprises, and cooperatives, because those usually provide means of sustainable livelihoods. Just to mention a few.
Minister,
the other thing is to
I'm, gonna
Yes.
I'm just going to interrupt you there. We're just running into a bit of time, but I think you've given us a great basis for exactly what it is and some of the developments. But I think the big thing, however, and the concern, and it was even raised in Parliament, is about the high dropout rate of learners in skills development programs. And, one wonders why, especially at a time when the country is actively working to address the skills shortages. Talk to us about this and how you intend on fixing something like this and working with SETAs and the TVET colleges?
It's one of the key high impact areas that the SETAs are going to be focusing on today. One of the reasons is that we don't have good monitoring systems for our learners. For instance, we also want to use ICT now to ensure that in every SETA program throughout the country, when a student enters the training space, we are able to record that student, that he or she is in attendance. That in itself, Leanne, will go a long way in improving monitoring of attendance so that we are able to follow up where students are dropping out and find out what the problem is. Of course, related to that is the issue of double dipping. You will find that in some instances, one student is registered in 3 different programs of 3 different SETAs. Clearly, there is a problem there because you can only be in one SETA program at a particular time as a learner. So that is another thing also that we want to eliminate. So better performance, because usually also we have to make sure at all times that these students are paid their stipends on time. Because sometimes that becomes the problem, that if stipends are not paid on time, then there is a problem with that. But generally, the programs that SETAs are running, they are in very high demand, and there is lots of good attendance in many instances, but we are indeed concerned about the dropout rate, and that's one of the things that the summit will address today.
We need to certainly do that. Minister, on a completely different subject, but one that's quite important. We've unfortunately got about 3 minutes left, and I'm glad we addressed, and I allowed you to address quite a bit on the SETAs. These universities, and perhaps it speaks across the whole sector. I mean, I'm just, we're concerned about looking at this, something like the Trinity International Bible University. I know you've condemned this, and you've said that it's ridiculous that they are giving doctorates, honorary doctorates, to very well-known people, but they're still allowed to function in our tertiary institutional landscape. What are you doing about these bogus universities?
Well, bogus institutions, as you may know, Leanne, every beginning of the year, we communicate a lot about parents needing to check private institutions through our website if they are registered. We have arrested some of them and so on. This particular Bible university, as they call themselves, we've told them that what they are doing is illegal and they must stop it. I'm very disappointed that they actually haven't. Now, what I've just been advised to do, which I accept, is that I will have to call a meeting with them. Because I don't want just to take out the big stick. I don't want to be confronting the churches in that way. I would like that we build a better relationship, that I engage them. And I had offered to engage them before to say, if you want to be a privately registered institution, what is it that you need to do? What do you need? I want to engage them now as a matter of urgency and say, you do this and you must stop doing this until we have actually been able to address this particular problem.
Good.
Then if they don't play ball, I'll have no choice except actually to take tougher action.
Good, because, I mean, we read back, it goes back as far as 2019 that I'm suing, when they gave an honorary doctorate to Winnie Mashaba and then so on and so forth. But I'm glad you're calling a meeting with them. Then finally, the issue of NSFAS, and I'm literally giving you a minute, and I apologize for such a short amount of time. People are worried that just by sort of getting rid of the board, that you're not addressing the actual problem, because there's still major problems happening at NSFAS. What are you doing about the management of NSFAS? Expensive buildings, expensive furniture, way too much going on, and students are suffering.
It's more than just dissolving the board, Leanne. If my statement is clear, I'm dissolving the board and then I'm putting the institution under administration and appointing an administrator. By the way, the administrator becomes both the CEO and the board. And I've said to the administrator as a matter of fact, I'm meeting him tomorrow, that also the technical skills that you need, please go and get them, so that you can have a team that is working with management there to support you and to plug the gaps. There are some acting positions at management level. Make sure you get people who can actually be able to assist you better whilst you are pulling the management together. And I have a list of things that I've said the administrator must do. Addressing the issue of capacity at NSFAS. Making the call center to work, something as basic as that. It's not a rocket science today to have a call center that is working, that's dealing possibly with 1.5 or 2 million people. So those are all the things that I've outlined to him, because it's not just dissolving the board, which is enough. It was a precondition, but he's taking over management. He's going to be leading the management team, and they must bring in additional capacity.
Minister, thank you for your time. Also, good luck with the summit and the launch of the SETA Integrated High Impact Programs. We will be covering that, so we'll get a lot more as that happens today. The Minister giving us a little bit of a preview. He is the keynote speaker and will be announcing a few things. Dr. Blade Nzimande, always a pleasure. Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology.
Thanks, Leah.
Pleasure. Thank you, Minister. That's it. Bye.